Throughout history, humanity has held some truly bizarre beliefs, fallen for some very strange crazes, and stumbled upon mysteries that remain completely unsolved to this day. Today, we are diving into 6 of the weirdest. We have got a single flower that became more valuable than a house, a town that put a monkey on trial for spying, a time when wealthy Europeans happily ate ground-up mummies as medicine, and a ship found perfectly intact, but with its entire crew vanished without a trace. These stories are strange, but every one of them is real. Let's get into it. In the 1630s, the Netherlands was gripped by a financial frenzy over the most unlikely object imaginable: a flower. Tulips had been introduced to Europe from the Ottoman Empire, and the Dutch became absolutely obsessed with them. The most prized were rare tulips, with beautiful, flaming patterns on their petals. As demand exploded, the price of tulip bulbs began to climb. And then it just kept on climbing. People began buying bulbs not to plant them, but purely to resell them later at a profit. A speculative bubble formed, and prices reached truly insane heights. At the very peak of what is now called Tulip Mania, a single rare tulip bulb could reportedly sell for the price of a grand house on an Amsterdam canal. People traded away their land, their life savings, and even their livestock, all for the promise of a flower. But of course, the bubble had to burst. In early 1637, the prices suddenly collapsed. Almost overnight, tulip bulbs became nearly worthless, and countless people were financially ruined. It remains one of the most famous economic bubbles in all of history, an entire frenzy over a simple flower. Our next story comes from the town of Hartlepool in England, and it is so strange that the locals are still teased about it to this very day. The tale takes place during the Napoleonic Wars in the early 1800s, when Britain was at war with France. The people of this small coastal town lived in constant fear of a French invasion, and many of them had never actually seen a Frenchman in their entire lives. One day, a French warship was wrecked in a storm off the coast near Hartlepool. The townspeople went down to the wreckage, and there they found the only survivor. It was the ship's pet monkey, reportedly dressed up in a little military-style uniform, perhaps for the crew's amusement. Now, the fishermen of Hartlepool had never seen a monkey before, nor a Frenchman. So, looking at this small, hairy, chattering creature in a uniform, they came to what felt like a logical conclusion. This must be a French spy. According to the legend, the townspeople held an impromptu trial right there on the beach. The monkey, of course, was unable to answer any of their questions, and so it was found guilty of espionage, and so the people of Hartlepool sentenced the monkey and hanged it. This next one is genuinely stomach-churning. For hundreds of years, all across Europe, people consumed human remains as medicine. This practice was known as corpse medicine, and it was shockingly common, even among royalty and the wealthy elite. The most prized ingredient of all was something called mumia. Originally, this referred to a substance taken from preserved Egyptian mummies. Apothecaries would grind up ancient mummified bodies into a fine powder, which was then sold and consumed to treat all sorts of ailments, from simple headaches to stomach problems. As the demand for ground-up mummies grew and real ancient mummies became more and more scarce, some unscrupulous dealers reportedly began faking them, using the bodies of more recently deceased people. But it did not stop at just mummies. Powdered human skull was used to treat ailments of the head. Human fat was rubbed onto the skin to ease aches. Some physicians even prescribed drinking fresh human blood. For centuries, eating little bits of the dead was simply considered to be cutting-edge medicine, and some of history's most respected and powerful figures were reportedly among the regular customers. In December of 1872, A ship called the Dei Gratia was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean when its crew spotted another ship in the distance, drifting strangely. As they cautiously approached, they recognized it as the Mary Celeste, a ship that had set sail from New York several weeks earlier. They watched it for a time, but saw absolutely no signs of life on deck. So they boarded it to investigate, and what they found has puzzled the world ever since. The Mary Celeste was completely deserted. There was not a single soul aboard. And yet, the ship was in remarkably good condition. It was still perfectly seaworthy. There was plenty of food and fresh water on board. The crew's personal belongings, including their valuables, were all left untouched. The entire cargo was still sitting in the hold. It looked exactly as though the crew of around 10 people had simply vanished into thin air, leaving everything behind. The ship's single lifeboat was missing, suggesting that they had abandoned ship in a great hurry, but no one could ever figure out why. The fate of the crew of the Mary Celeste remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries in all of history. Our next mystery is a book that no one on Earth has ever been able to read. It is called the Voynich manuscript, and it is believed to date all the way back to the early 15th century. The book is filled with around 240 pages of flowing handwritten text. But here is the problem. The text is written in a language, or perhaps a code, that has never been identified and never been deciphered. For over a century now, the world's most brilliant scholars, linguists, and even professional World War II codebreakers have all tried to crack it. And every single one of them has failed. The pages are also covered in strange and beautiful illustrations. There are detailed drawings of plants that do not match any known species on Earth. There are bizarre astrological diagrams and pictures of tiny figures bathing in strange green pools connected by winding tubes. No one knows who wrote it, what language it could possibly be in, or what it's even about. Is it a lost language, an elaborate hoax, or some unbreakable secret code? Despite all of our modern technology, the Voynich manuscript stubbornly keeps its secrets to this day. Our final story is about some of the strangest fads ever to grip a nation. In the 1920s and 1930s, America went a little bit crazy for bizarre endurance contests. The first was flagpole sitting. It became wildly popular to climb to the very top of a flagpole and then simply sit there for as long as humanly possible. People competed to set new records, perching on tiny platforms for days and even weeks on end. They ate and slept up there, drawing huge crowds of spectators below. But even stranger were the dance marathons. During the great hardship of the Great Depression, desperate couples would enter these contests for a chance to win much-needed cash prizes. The rules were brutally simple. Keep dancing and stay on your feet. The couples would dance for hundreds of hours, sometimes for weeks at a time, with only short breaks to rest. Exhausted dancers would shuffle slowly around the floor, sometimes literally asleep on their feet, propped up only by their partners. They were grueling tests of human endurance disguised as cheap entertainment, and today they stand as a haunting symbol of one of the most desperate eras in history. And there they are. 6 of history's most bizarre beliefs, crazes, and unsolved mysteries. A flower worth more than a house, a monkey put on trial, and a book that no one alive can read. These stories prove that the human story is wonderfully strange, full of obsessions and puzzles that we may never fully understand. If you enjoyed this one, then hit that subscribe button for more weird history every single week. And tell me down in the comments which of these mysteries you would most like to solve. I'll see you in the next one.